All right. So we are here for the 2025 Service Pack review. So this is going to be an ongoing thing for us. We used to do a bunch of webinars to let people know what was new in the Service Pack, and we kind of got away from doing that. And it's something that we have identified through site visits and a lot of other feedback that these kinds of things are really helpful, and you guys all wanted them. So we're going to continue to do these for every service pack. We always have our release notes that we will always be putting out as well. But these are kind of these webinars are here to kind of highlight some of the bigger features and some of the flashier things that we can show you. So expect to see more of these webinars coming up in the future. So. Okay, let me see if I can get my notes in front of me too. All right. So, like I mentioned, Luke is typically going to be the face of these, and I'll be in parts of them, and some other folks might be parts of them as well, doing some of the demos and things like that. But Luke is our customer success manager, so you might be hearing from him in the near future. If you haven't already heard from him, he's going to be a great resource for everybody, including us. He's really great to work with. So if you hear his name and see him coming up in conversation from time to time. He's our customer success manager. So hopefully you all get to meet him soon. Okay, for anybody who hasn't met me, my name's Nate Shuckers. I'm the product manager for Andar. I joined Andar in 2019. I started out on the customer care side doing support tickets, did that for a couple of years, went to the professional services side, was working with our amazing professional services team to do work for you guys, create some custom experiences, and do some trainings. A lot of you might recognize me from trainings that we may have done. So recently, within the last, I guess it's been about a year now, a little over a year, I came over to the development side and I'm now the product manager. So I really enjoy working with the product, trying to enhance it, make it a lot better for you guys, working with our developers, taking in enhancement requests, coming back with some of my own experiences from my United Way days, which started in 2012-ish, I think, if I remember correctly. I was on the resource development side and then kind of transitioned into the database side with a couple of different United Ways. So um, have some United Way experience all the way back to 2012. And just a side note, most of our customer care and professional services came directly from the United Way world. So in case anybody hasn't met any of those folks, a lot of us have come from the United Way world directly. We've been doing working with United Ways or working for United Ways for most of our professional careers. So uh, okay, next on the PowerPoint, and this is the last meaningful slide before we get into kind of the demo portion of this. I wanted to pause for a minute and really point out our amazing development team. These are the folks that a lot of people don't meet. They don't get the opportunity to talk to. They are the truly the powerhouse behind Andar software. So our development team is pretty small. We've got 6 of them, and then we've got one who does QA. So Avram, David, Isaac, Kaiko, Ricky, and Sergey. Those are all of our development team. They are the folks who all of the stuff that you're going to see today. They are the people behind the hard work behind all of what you're going to see today. So really wanted to pause, call their names out, and thank them very specifically. And then Steven is also on our QA side. He's on our development team, but he's also on our QA side. So he's the one who looks over, does load testing, does a lot of feature testing. So these folks, I wanted to really call them out very specifically and say thank you, and point out that just the 5, 6, 7 of them were responsible for over 140 enhancements this past service pack. So lots of work, lots of testing, and we couldn't be happier about some of the things that we're producing for you guys. We also want to thank all of you for submitting enhancement requests. So a lot of the enhancements that we're going to see today came directly from requests that you guys have made. So we're trying to listen to your feedback and incorporate that as much as we possibly can in the time that we have. So look forward to more fun and exciting enhancements to come here. So really quickly, this is kind of what I have planned to go over. Hopefully we are going to have some time for questions throughout and potentially at the end. If anybody's been in a training with me, you know that I try and squeeze as much as I possibly can in. And questions and answers sometimes go a little bit over. So if you're able to stay a little bit longer, I can stay a little bit longer and answer some questions. I think there is a question feature in the Teams meeting that you can submit some questions to. Because I'm the one who's presenting and answering questions, it's going to be a little tough for me to do live. But if you post some questions in, I might be able to pause a couple times throughout the presentation, look over some questions. At the end, if we have some time, I'll do some question and answer. And then I think these questions will be available for us afterwards. So if there are any important ones or recurring ones that keep coming up, I'll try and go back and answer those, and we can post those out and make those public for you. But this is kind of the agenda. So I wanted to talk about 8 or 9 separate topics here. It's not really, some of them will get a little bit into like how to do this or where it's coming from. So it's not really a training, but it is more of a demo just to show you what some of these new features are. So if you have questions, you can always put in support tickets. We've got some new documentation that may help you out on some of this as well. So we'll try and get through a lot of this and answer questions as we go along. Okay, so enough of the PowerPoint. One thing I'm going to start with is the What's New document. So huge shout out to Chris Smith and Kaiko on our development team. Chris is on the customer care side. The two of them really revamped how this What's New document looks. If anybody's familiar with what it used to be an Excel spreadsheet or just this long list of all the features that you had to scroll through. I really looked forward to that when I was at my United Way, seeing what all those new features were, but we have revised how that list looks. It is much more consumable. We've grouped it. We've put in some of these expanding and contracting sections. So if you're really only interested in the finance stuff, you can come down here and see the finance stuff. If you're really only looking for any of the stuff that's been done online, you can click on one of these and expand. And these will shoot you out to either projects or documentation on these projects, one or the other. As we go through some of this new documentation, we are converting into a new format. So you might see some projects out there with user impact documentation. You might actually see some new documentation out there. So it's a work in progress, but Chris and Kaiko have done a really good job of cleaning this up. If you do want to go and see that old list at the bottom, you can click on either one of these 2 links, and those will get you out to the old documentation. So it's all the detail there if you want to see all the detail, but this kind of breaks it down for you between the Andar enhancements and our web enhancements or e-community enhancements. So, okay, let me get my list of topics back in front of me. Okay. Quick side note on this, we are recording, I believe, so I do see the little record icon, so we'll make this available for anybody if they missed it or have to cut out a little bit early. We'll make this available for you as well. And then one other piece, if you aren't on this service pack, that's perfectly okay. If you do go to download the new service pack and install it, or have us install it if we're hosting you, just make sure that you get the hotfix as well. There are a couple of pretty important fixes that went into the first hotfix. There's always a couple of things that we miss bug-wise or functionality-wise, and actually a couple of features, I think in this case, were squeezed into one of the new, into the very first hotfixes. So make sure if you guys are installing those hotfixes or an IT company is installing those service packs for you, make sure you get that hotfix as well. Okay, so that's the What's New document. And we'll jump into Andar. So a couple of these, since we didn't have a 2501 What's New webinar, I wanted to hit a couple of those as well. In the 2501 service pack, you might have seen this new What's New article here. This is another way for us to feature some of the bigger enhancements, some of the bigger features that we've released in that service pack. So in moving forward from 2501 and moving forward, we're going to have something similar to this where it kind of points out some of these. These will change every service pack. So you'll see new information coming up in all of these. The first one is just kind of always going to be an intro section, and that's where we said we threw out 140. There's where my 140 came from, 140 enhancements. So you can click through these guys and see some of the high-level descriptions on some of these projects that were put into this service pack. Sometimes there are going to be links in here. So I'll call this one out. There's a software, Andar software survey article. It's just a link to our satisfaction survey. So we want to get your input on how we're doing and where we can improve. We've got this online fundraising survey that goes out to talk about some online giving options. If you want to submit a feature request, there's a survey for that. And then if you or your site is interested in doing a site visit, you can click on that and submit a survey for that. So sometimes there are going to be links in here that you guys can click on to get to documentation. In this case, these are some surveys that we wanted to get out to everybody. Otherwise, it's high level detail on some of the data. It doesn't include all of the how-tos or any of that kind of stuff. That will always be in the what's new and our normal documentation. And then the very last one is always going to be kind of a list of other important things. And then it links out to the full set of enhancement documentation here as well. So try to include all of that in these what's new. For anybody who doesn't, if you want to close this, you can close this. You can just close it and it'll pop up the next time you open up Andar. If you have read through it and you don't want to see it, you can click this checkbox and say, don't show this again. And it won't show up again until the next service pack in 2601. I'm sorry. So that checkbox will prevent it from showing up every single time you open up Andar. If you ever close this and you do want to get it back, so you've checked that checkbox and you want to see that article again or those articles, you can go up to the help menu and go down to what's new for 2502, and it'll bring that right back up for you. Okay, so that was in 2501. We'll go through a couple of these articles on some of the new features for 2502. The first one I do want to start off with are BioTabs and dashboards. The BioTabs and dashboards have been a pretty big hit. We introduced downloadable dashboards a while ago. This service pack, I think we have 4 or 5 dashboards, and we've, I think, released 8 BioTabs. BioTabs are for individual or organization accounts. Dashboards are for overall data. I'll show you a couple of those. There's a link down here. A couple years ago, we put in the option to download BioTabs and dashboards from our support center. And then last year, we put in this little link where you don't even have to go up to the website anymore. You can get these BioTabs and dashboards directly from your Andar. So you don't have to go out to the website, download it, and then import it. You can just click this link. It'll open up. Oh, see if my Andar froze. There we go. I just need to be patient. It'll open up this little window. And this window gives you a list of all the BioTabs and dashboards that you can download from our support site directly. So if you wanted to grab one of these BioTabs, for example, gives you a really quick description of what it is, a little screenshot that you can see what some of the apps and features are on that BioTab. And if you click the install button, it'll install it directly into your Andar instance. So lots of these. I think the last time I counted, there were about 40 BioTabs or dashboards that you can download. You can see there's a bunch of dashboards and only a handful of BioTabs, but we're working on it. So each one of these is a little bit different, gives you a little description, and then you can download them directly. Sometimes we also have some links in here for documentation. So this one talks about campaign setup, so ePledge specifically. So if you wanted to read more about our web administration, you can click on this link and it'll shoot you out to our documentation on web administration. So trying to put a bunch of those resources all in one place for you. Okay, so that's downloading and installing them. When you do install a dashboard, I have this leadership one here. This is kind of one that I wanted to talk a little bit about. Um, when you get the dashboard installed here, one of the things that I think has gone a little unnoticed in recent service packs are categories. And so if I go up here and click the little plus, you can see I've got all of these little folders here. So if I hover over the Andar software, it shows me these are all the uh, dashboards that have a category of Andar software or community building or campaign. So you can put categories on all of your BioTabs and dashboards, which help you, one, see who they're designed for, maybe, or there's a lot of reasons you could put categories on there. Helps you find things a little bit better. You can group it by department or whatever you want. But the really neat part about this is we added in the add all or close all in this category feature. So if you have all of these Andar software dashboards and you want to see all of them, instead of opening each one by one, we can just do click that add all, and you can see it adds the remaining 3 here in that Andar software category. If I wanted to close all of those, I'm done with that category. I can go to close all in this category, and it closes all of those. So it's just a quick way, saves a couple of clicks for you to go and open all or close all. So those categories are directly on the dashboards themselves. So if you go in to edit your dashboard, there's a category drop down. You can create your own categories. You can relabel categories, do whatever you want there. There's even a mass assign for those categories. So lots of little features there that I think can be helpful in organizing and reducing clutter. If you would have seen my dashboard screen before this, you would have seen I have like 20 or 30 dashboards, and now it's just like opening and closing a set of tabs in Chrome or something like that. So little UI revision there to make it a little bit easier. Dashboards in general. So I mentioned dashboards are for overall campaign information. This isn't for one specific account, and this leadership dashboard's a really good example of that. The idea behind dashboards is that we want to show the high level detail and allow you to dig into it if you wanted to, as opposed to the opposite. We don't want to show you every single detail that is there and not show you the high level. So this leadership dashboard was kind of the perfect example of that. Looking at this on the left-hand side, you can see there's a leadership giving chart. I believe that's a new one for the O2 service pack. The one that goes up and down will show you the dollar amounts. The one kind of this guy will show you the leadership count. So just from those two apps, you can see a whole lot about the database. You can see that a lot of my money comes from Tocqueville donors, but I only have a few Tocqueville, actual Tocqueville donors. So without having to run any reports, these are the kind of insights that you don't have to run a report for. You can just visually see, hey, there's a lot of money coming from my Tocqueville folks, but I don't have a whole lot of Tocqueville donors. So again, show you that high level, and you don't need to run any reports to see that. So those two are the exact same chart. They're just configured a little bit differently. I think we're going to be doing a dashboard and BioTab webinar in the near future. So I won't get into a whole lot of how to set these things up or how to personalize or customize. Look for the dashboard webinar for that coming up. But just to show you, there's a radio button in here that says show totals. And the one that I clicked on has leadership count. And I could switch it and show individual gift. And that's how this guy over here on the left is set up. That's individual gift. So it's the same dashboard app configured 2 different ways to give you 2 different kind of segments, 2 different lenses to look at. So again, high level detail doesn't give you a whole lot of dig down in there, but it's better than running a report and constantly wondering how your leadership giving is going. We've got a volunteer giving history chart here. This one I think was introduced in the last service pack, but again, it shows you how many leaders have volunteered, how many of your volunteers have given non-leadership gifts, and how many have given no gift. So in this instance, we've got a couple of leaders that have given, more so in the more recent years, a bunch of people who have volunteered but have not made a gift yet, And then in my test database, which has a bunch of garbage data, we don't have any of those non-leadership gifts. This all relies on your leadership tables. So if you've got your leadership level set up in your leadership tables, this all gets calculated automatically. Same thing with your leadership count and leadership giving charts. That all comes from your leadership tables. If you have questions about setting those up, I think we've got some good documentation, and our customer support team is there to help out with that. This one in particular, this one particular chart is a good example of what we'd like to do a little bit more of, and we're going back and adding down the road. If I wanted to see who these leaders were, I can actually click on that segment. So I just clicked on the segment, and it shows me a list of the volunteers in that segment. So I can see these are the people who actually gave a leadership gift and volunteered. If I want to find out the people who didn't give a gift but volunteered, I click on that segment, and now I can see those folks. So providing one layer of kind of drill down information on a lot of these charts is what we're going back and adding for a lot of these. So if they're not there, we're working on it. You can always submit an enhancement if you find one that you want that drill down list into, but we're actively going back and looking at our charts and seeing what we can add to it. Okay, so the one on the right, I've been skipping this one a little bit here. The one on the right is a brand new app. It's called a Dates Agenda. So the way this works, I'll show you the settings kind of quickly here. You can have it show all individuals within a specific warehouse. So if you want to drop all of your Tocqueville donors in, or your board members, whatever you want to do, you can drop them into a warehouse and have your custom list. You can also do this by manager account. So if you want to see anybody who's managed or managed by a particular user, you logged in, you can see your accounts. And then you get to choose these date types. And date types have lived in Andar for quite some time. This is a customizable field. You can add whatever date types you want to this table. In my example, I just have anniversaries and birth dates, but college graduations or high school graduations or loyal contributor dates, any of those dates that you want to track, you've been able to put into Andar for quite some time. But now we have a nice way of seeing all of that data. So for example, right now I have this set up for 90 days. That's one thing I skipped showing you, sorry. There's a little field down here. You can say I only want to see the upcoming dates for this week, this month, or the next X amount of days. So I have it configured for 90 days. So for the next 3 months, I want to see all of the birth dates and anniversaries that are out there. So in my test database, you can see these are all of the dates that are out there for the next 90 days. I have my table color coded as well, so birth dates are showing up as blue, anniversaries are red. Stock, these are just black text, but you can always customize those tables and make them look a little bit different to catch your eyes. So the idea behind this is if you have a leadership person or somebody who's monitoring for birth dates or want to write a special message or an email to your leadership donors, this is an app that kind of shows you that without, again, having to run a report. So it's just a running list of all of those important dates that you might want to see. The neat part about this, and we'll come back to this in a second, you can open a profile by clicking on one of these data cards too. So if I want to open up Evgeny Malkin's record, which we're going to come back to, I just click on it and it opens up his actual Andar profile. So we're looking at doing something similar in a future service pack with I attend events and volunteer opportunities. I know the development team has already kind of worked that one out, so that's going to be kind of the next iteration of this as well. So kind of cool stuff there. On this particular dashboard, we also, I'm trying to introduce a couple of old topics that may have been forgotten. This ranking information has been available again in Andar forever. What it does is it automatically looks at your database and it groups people in different categories. So for this example, I have it set up to total pledge amount. And what this does is it looks through my entire database and it groups them into quintiles. So groups of 5, right? Or 5 different groups. Top 20%, top 40%, median, bottom 40%, and bottom 20%. So without having to run any reports, I can see that Mario Lemieux is the #1 person in my entire database, and he's in my top 20%. Sidney Crosby is here with 1.8 million overall giving for his total pledge, and he's position number 3. There was a tie here. It looks like I might have a duplicate with Mario, but without having to again run any reports or do any queries or anything like that, it shows you pretty quickly who is in the top 20, who's in the bottom 40, whatever you want to see. I just have it sorted. There was one. These guys are in the median. So if I keep scrolling down, you'll see this is in the top 40% median. There's a couple reds. Again, I color coded this just to make it look a little prettier. By default, it's all black, but it's pretty easy to customize the view on those tables. So just again, a really nice way to bring old information back. There is a rebuild that you can run that would update this, but again, you don't have to run any reports. You can just have this data right there at your fingertips. Lots of different ranking types. There's a whole dashboard and a little description about rankings in here as well. So if you're interested in rankings, check that dashboard out. It links out to some documentation and all of that kind of stuff. So pretty cool thing that's been around forever, and I kind of wanted to reintroduce it and put a little spin on it. The last couple of apps down here, we'll talk about this combined leadership in a second. A couple of important reports that get run, individual leadership report and the organization leadership report. Those are kind of popular reports that get run through those on there. And then we've got this uncombined spouses, which again is an old piece, but if you are doing combined giver relationships for like a household gift or a family gift, this will show you any spouses that you have listed that don't have that combined gift. So it helps you clean up your data a little. Other than that, this is all designed for like high-level leadership people to look at and get some information. So pretty cool dashboard. It's a totally different take on what we've been doing for dashboards. All right, let's do an individual profile. Again, I'm not going to go through all the dashboards. Stay tuned for that dashboard webinar that's coming up, but we'll move on to the BioTabs. BioTabs are essentially the same kind of thing, the same idea, but it's for a specific account. We can have an individual or an organization BioTab. So we'll start with an organization BioTab. We released the profile, campaign, finance, and a data entry BioTab for individuals and organizations. They have similar information, but slightly different spins. Profile is just overall general profile information, names, in this case, campaign dates, quick history of their giving, contacts, important contacts. There's that ranking and segmentation piece that I just mentioned, designation information, employees of that organization, affiliation relationship. So are they a Tocqueville member? Are they Women's United or Emerging Leaders affiliation relationship? If they have any documents, if they have leadership donors. So a lot of information about this one particular company. The idea behind this is if you're getting a call from an employee and you need to pull up and get a really quick snapshot of what this company is, you get a quick view of this without needing to look up 5 or 10 different tabs or subtabs to get that information. How many events they attended, volunteers for that particular organization. And then down below, this is just a timeline app. So if somebody makes a change to this organization, this is going to show what was changed. So in this case, there was an email address that got changed and a web address that got changed. So high-level information on the profile information. Campaign shows a little bit more campaign-related information. So the manager account. So if you're assigning manager accounts to this company, it's going to show the manager account there. A leadership summary. Again, we've got some of the same information, contact information. This is new on this dashboard, on this BioTab at least. Donor stats. So again, without having to run any reports, this just goes and grabs any of the donor statistics for that particular organization and shows it to you. So gift frequency, how long they've been giving. So this company's had an employee gift for 21 years. The frequency of gifts. All of that kind of stuff. So high-level campaign stuff. 2 of the new apps here, we introduced churn in a churn dashboard earlier. I can't remember if it was last service pack or the one before that. We've now added that for organization accounts. So this is showing you specifically for American Bearings, how many lapsed donors do we have? How many increased donors do we have? How many decreased donors do we have? And then it shows you a history of that as well. So if you're familiar with those churn charts that we released earlier for like global kind of campaign wide, we've now replicated those for organization accounts as well. So those guys are included on this campaign dashboard or BioTab, I'm sorry. Finance, again, I won't go through all of these, but they typically care about completely different numbers. So accounts receivable is an important number for them to look at. Statements, campaign might not typically care about some of those things. So these are all just different lenses. And instead of clicking on 5 or 10 or 16 different tabs and subtabs, let's put it all on one bio tab, all in one spot for you. And then the last one, this one isn't a really pretty one, but a lot of times people ask, what are the data points that they should be tracking in Andar? And this is kind of a way to demonstrate some of the important ones that we think. Maybe not all of them for every organization out there, but addresses, phone numbers, web addresses, contacts, campaign dates, all of these things are kind of important key data elements that are important data for you to know and for you to be able to maintain and manage. So again, rather than clicking through 5 or 6 different tabs and subtabs, let's just put it all onto one dashboard for one bio tab for you. So you can manage all of your key data points all in one spot. Again, if web address is something you're not using, you can remove this app and put something that is applicable to your organization here if you'd like. So lots of customization and personalization possible with these bio tabs and dashboards. So profile, campaign, finance, and data entry are the bio tabs that we created. This is the organization account. And the same thing flows over into the individual account. So profile, campaign, data entry, and finance. One quick pointer here, if you're not used to using BioTabs in general, once you add one of these BioTabs over here, you can click the little plus and same idea here, add all, close all, just like I showed you with the dashboards. If you haven't set one of these up as a default, there's a really handy hidden trick here. If you right click on one of these bio tabs, so for example, this profile individual, if I right click on it, I can set my profile bio tab as my default and for main. So choose both of these, and that way, anytime you look up any individual account, it automatically defaults to this profile bio tab rather than having this ugly screen that really doesn't do anybody any good. So if you right click on these and set these as the defaults, finance can have their own, right? So finance can come in here and set the finance as default for themselves, whereas maybe campaign sets the campaign one for themselves. Everybody could set the individual profile one, whatever you want. That way it just kind of standardizes what you're looking at and puts all of those really important charts and data points all in one spot. Okay, new in this service pack. I always had a hard time with finding who I was looking at. So if you look really closely in the top left, you can see that this is Evgeny Malkin's bio tab. But if you didn't have one of these, name apps down here, it was kind of hard to tell who you were looking at. So the idea behind this was let's make it a little bit more visible, so you can see the profile name showing up here. It also shows you the name of the bio tab that you're on, individual profile. And then we added this little logo. And if you've caught by now, when you hover over the logo, the little hand comes up, and now we've got this little tooltip that says attach a profile picture. Again, profile pictures have been around in Andar for quite some time, but we've made them a lot easier to access now. So if you click on this, you can go attach from file. I have a profile picture, so let's just find Gino's profile picture. And now we've got a little profile picture of Evgeny Malkin there. You can do that for individuals and organizations. Where you'll find that, I'm just going to show you really quick here. When you go to update, I just right-clicked on a bio tab. There's a little checkbox down and went to update bio tab. I'm sorry, need to finish that thought. So I right-clicked update bio tab, and it brings up the screen where it's got the name and some of the other settings. But there's one brand new checkbox down here. It says show profile name in the header of the bio tab. Once you check that off, then you'll get the little placeholder image and the ability to add the profile picture. That little profile picture also goes back to here. So if I refresh this, now we've got Malkin's picture showing up there as well. So it's kind of dual purpose. So um, that profile picture shows up in a couple of places. Also shows up on the web and lots of other places. Again, that shows up, that's been around for quite some time, but it shows up that will automatically add a note to your CRM notes subtab. So just automatically adds that. You can see it was added today. So that's where that photo lives. If you've got those photos already, then they should automatically show up in there for you. Okay, so that's the profile image. If you drag and drop, you can drag and drop. The reason I didn't show that is if you're on a remote desktop, sometimes people have issues dragging and dropping because of security. So the easier way is just to click on the picture or click on the placeholder and attach the file there. If I click on this, it'll then open up the full picture, just like if I opened up the note in that CRM notes subtab. One quick app, I think that's the only one other app that I wanted to point out here. Profile picture. Yep, Pact Manager. This is the only new app that I'm going to highlight. There are a bunch of new apps that we've got in that What's New document, but one that I wanted to highlight is this Pact Manager app. And what this Pact Manager app does is it looks at a pecking order. So if you're familiar with how Andar works with salutations and things like that, there is a pecking order for just about everything. This one in particular is a pecking order for the manager account. So what this one's going to do is it's going to look, does this person have a specific manager assigned to them? If not, show who the manager of that company is. So for example, we can see that Nate Shuckers is listed as the manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins. However, if I bring up, I think I have this set up, we'll look at SIDS. You can see in that very same Sid as an employee of the Pittsburgh Penguins, same as Evgeny Malkin. But in this one, we can see that Mr. Leonard Abbott is Sid's manager. And just to show you how that's pulling, if I come in here and go to managers, Sid actually has a account executive assigned to him. So Sid, because he's the captain of the team, gets special treatment. Leonard gets to work with Sid directly. But Malkin, on the other hand, is just an employee of the Penguins, so he gets me as their manager. So it looks through that pecking order and chooses an individual like a Tocqueville manager or a leadership manager. And if that one doesn't exist, it goes through any other steps and it finally defaults back to the employer. So there's this checkbox that says look up employer manager if manager was not found. So ultimately, it's always going to show the manager of that organization. That's one of those kind of neat parts that a couple customers have always asked me for it. I did some custom SQL queries for them to find that information, but having it by default in here is pretty handy. Now, if Gino calls you up and starts complaining about something, you know who to go and talk to. You know you can come and talk to me because I'm his the Pittsburgh Penguins manager. Whereas if Sid calls, you can go directly to his Tocqueville manager. So that's a pretty neat app. There are a couple other new apps. We don't have time to go through all of them, but I wanted to highlight that one because that was kind of frequently asked for. Okay, on to a couple of more exciting pieces here. So we introduced what has been called the Designation Portal. Huge shout out to Capital Region in Enola. There's a couple Capital Regions out there, so I always try and highlight which Capital Region. It's the Capital AL Capital Region in Enola, PA. It was a paid enhancement that they gave us. It's a really cool feature. It's the Designation Portal, and we're going to jump into that here. Let's get to. I'm just going to log in as Gino to show that off to you. We're just going to log in. Okay, so I have logged in as Evgeny Malkin. You can see I'm logged in as Pittsburgh Penguins. He's an employee of the Pittsburgh Penguins. There is a menu item. So I have put that menu item under my account. You can put it wherever you want, but the menu item is called Designations. And what this allows you to do is, or what allows donors to do, is there is now a place where you can choose what campaign year you want. So I've got a bunch of campaign years out there. my database is set to 2019 as the current year, but it looks at all of the designations for that particular year. And if it's eligible to be moved, you can move those designations. So some United Ways will create an agency called temporary designations, or the name varies, but they'll have a holding spot. So a large donor might say, I'm going to give you, in this case, $100,000. I'll tell you how I want it to be designated throughout the year. And rather than that donor then emailing you, they can and telling you that they want to shift the designation around, you can allow them to come in here and do that on their own. So in this case, we've got this temporary designations, $85,000. We'll click the little pencil. This works just like ePledge. So if you want to search for an agency, just like an ePledge, we'll search for Big Brothers. Okay, we're going to add Greater Pittsburgh. So I click the little plus, and I want to designate 20,000 of that 85,000 to Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Pittsburgh. We'll hit confirm. There's a little message that says, are you sure you want to do this? We'll hit confirm again. Get a little confirmation message that says it was moved. And now we see Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Pittsburgh is here for $20,000. So you can allow donors to go in and manage their own designations if that's what they want to do. You'll notice a couple of these do not have the little pencil next to them. That means they're not eligible. There's a couple ways that they could be not eligible. In this case, I have a threshold amount set at $100. That's in the web option. So there's a Designation Portal web option that allows you to set that threshold. So if I were to set that to $1,000 or turn it off, then these guys would be either available, or anything under 1,000 then wouldn't be available to move. So people can move this around as long as they're eligible in that sense, and as long as they haven't started to be paid out. Once something gets paid out, then you have to be a little bit more careful, and they might have to contact you to do it. But we can't allow people to go and do things to designations that have already been paid out. So these are, it only allows the donors to go and modify these designations if that designation is allowable to be transferred. You can do this, you could have done this in Andar all along, but we opened it up to the website now. So a little less work on you, a little more responsibility on your donors, and a little more freedom on those donors. So lots of web notes that you can put information in here on what to do, some of the reasons why maybe a designation isn't available to be moved and transferred. So lots of customization there, just like you would expect on any other ePledge page. So that is the high level of the designation portal. It's a pretty cool feature. I think it unlocks some stuff in the future for us as well. But one of those things that when I used to train my payouts classes, this was a semi-common. A lot of customers had this kind of a method set up. So this might allow that method to be a little bit more standard now. So if you want to allow people to throw designations in and move them around, create an agency, call it whatever you want to call it, and then direct your Tocqueville donors to designate to that particular agency so that they can go and update it later on. Okay. So again, if you've got questions on this, we've got some documentation, and our support staff are out there to help you on this one. But I wanted to showcase this because it was a pretty big change and a pretty cool project that we got to work on. So let's bounce back into Andar really quickly. And I know we're getting close to time here, so I want to get a couple more in. One of the things that we introduced, and this is going to be one of those, it feels like we're constantly updating because we are, bot attack detection stuff. Without getting into the technical side of things, we put in 3 bot attack detection techniques. 2 of them are visible here, and there's a third that's invisible. The 2 that you see here is a honeypot, and not to get in again to the details, but we've buried a field in the coding that is blank. And when a bot hits a web page, typically what it does is it finds all of the fields in the coding and fills all of those fields out. So if that field gets filled out and you hit the submit button, there's going to be a validation error. It's going to say, nope, sorry, we can't do that because that hidden field was filled in. So normal users will never, ever, ever see this field, and that's the design of it. A normal user would just go and fill out a single page reg and pledge giving page, click the submit button, and that field is blank. That's how it's designed to work. But the bot will fill that field in, and then that throws an error and ends that session. So that's one that we put in. The second one here is a completion timer. A lot of times bots hit one single page multiple times within a second. So what we did is we put in a timer that says if there are multiple hits or multiple submissions, I should say, of that form in 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, that's where you see this selection here, then throw an error and don't allow anymore. So again, two pieces there that are visible for you guys. The third is we've put in for Fiserv, a lot of bots were bypassing our pages and just going directly to the payment pages for Fiserv. So we've put in a way to mitigate that as well. So I think we're looking at copying that over into CyberSource for those of you that are using CyberSource as well. But for Fiserv, that's a third measure that's completely invisible to anybody. There are no settings. It's just there in the new hotfix, new service pack and hotfix, I think. So that's the third piece. We're going to keep adding to this. The moment you plug one hole, it's like whack-a-mole, right? Like you plug one hole and three more open up. So we're constantly looking at ways that we can mitigate as many of these bot attacks as possible. But giving you these three were kind of the first three that we've felt pretty good about, and we're just going to have to keep doing as hackers figure out different new creative ways to hack. So. Okay, bot detection. Oh, there's a couple pretty things that I'll show you here. If you're using volunteering at all in Andar, then this opportunity map will show you, it's by default, it's called the opportunity map. It's going to show you volunteer opportunities and list them on a map for you. So the map is interactive. I can scroll around, I can zoom in and zoom out. If I hover over one of these, it'll show details about that particular volunteer opportunity. So in this case, the name is Cleanup Station Square. It gives me the address, and then it shows me the number of volunteers. Notice the different color codes. So partially filled, full, or emergency. So it shows me that the green ones still have availability. The gray one is full, meaning it doesn't have any availability. And then the emergency app is if there's a disaster or something, you can find that one quickly. So just a pretty visual for all of your volunteer opportunities. We're looking at, this isn't available on eCommunity yet, but this will, I think, will be a natural add-in to eCommunity if you're using volunteering, and the eVolunteer module specifically. So just kind of a neat visual. This ties into our new geocoding service. So we have tapped into the OpenStreetMap API. So it's a free service. We used to use Google, but Google added some paywalls to their stuff. So this OpenStreetMap is now a new geocoding service. We've tapped into that. So there are some instructions on how to do this, but really it's pretty straightforward. But you can just choose OpenStreetMap here and this Photon geocoding service, and then it will use all of the addresses that you've got on your volunteer opportunities to populate this map. Similarly, we've created this map Executive Plus chart type. So if you're familiar with Executive Plus, it's just SQL coding, and I won't get into all of the code of how this Executive Plus query works, but ultimately I wrote a quick SQL query to show me all of the agencies in United Ways in Pennsylvania that I have in my database. I have them color coded. So United Ways are blue, agencies are in this yellow. Same idea, it's just using Executive Plus queries instead of very specifically focusing on opportunities. So if you've got companies, if you've got individual donors, anything with an address in your database, you can write a SQL query for, and that will then allow you to present it in a map. The geocoding takes care of the latitude and longitude for you, and then you get a kind of an interactive map. This came out of an idea of a couple of our customers showing where a couple of different like volunteer opportunities are and where the most quote unquote most need in their communities are. So if I figured if we could SQL code it, you can put it in a map and get that overlay in one map. So wide open how you can use that, kind of use your creativity with Executive Plus, or we can help you with Executive Plus on our professional services level if you need it. I mentioned this combined leadership app that we would come back to it. We're back to it. So the idea behind this is if you've got combined givers, it typically is pretty hard to find out the kind of big picture of that combined giver. Who's the other combined giver? What's the total gift? What are the individual gifts? That's what this app does. So you can see that account 1 is Lola Bunny. She has given $500. Account 2 is Bugs Bunny. He has given $500. Together, they've given $1,000, which puts them at the bronze level. So it shows the individual gift, the individual level for each one, and then the total and combined total. Same thing, if you look down here, we've got another combined giver relationship. That's me. I have not given $12,000, but I am at the Tocqueville level. The spouse recorded is Jill Williams. She hasn't given anything. She's not a leader, but our combined level is still $12,000 and the Tocqueville. So rather than having to run reports and do the transpose feature or pull it out in Excel, we gave you an app that you can add. That's also on the leadership dashboard. We threw in a couple of data cards. Data cards are just high-level stats that are one number rather than a chart or anything like that. We've used data cards quite a bit for total campaign raised, total payments, total pledges, all of that kind of stuff. Those are just one big stat, total number of donors, right? Data cards show that off really easily. So we added a couple of survey options in here. So if you are using the surveys in Andar and you want to find out how many of a particular survey have been completed, well, without running any reports or anything, again, you get to see there are 10. This is a specific response on a survey. So how many people have responded to this survey question? In this case, 8. This one's kind of neat. I'll go into the settings of it. So it's picking a specific survey line or a question. So in this case, it's looking at the individual survey and it's saying, what question do we want to poll? How likely are you to recommend us? It'll go and grab the results from that specific survey question, and it does an average for us. So in this case, the average is 8. So it looks at that one specific question on that one specific survey and gives us an average for that one particular question. So high level details for surveys. I think we're going to be expanding a lot with surveys here in the future because surveys are pretty cool and there's a lot of good data in there, but it's been a little bit harder to get it out. So these were some of the ways that we got it out. Same thing down here. If you want to track how a survey is doing, this just tracks in intervals. So I have it set up to every single day. So it's going to show you every single day for the past month how this survey has been filled out. So you can see we got a couple of hits here early on, and there was 3 people filled out the survey on the 3rd, 4 people filled it out on the 7th, and then it's been dead after that. So if you want to see kind of how progressively how that survey is done, this timeline will give you that to kind of know when your responses, you can cut your responses off. So that is called the completed survey chart. It's also in the what's new document as well. We included this circular gauge chart. This is another Executive Plus query. So the idea behind this is if you've ever looked at KPIs, the idea came from KPIs. You might have 4 or 5 different goals that you want to see. And instead of having 5 different charts for those different goals, you can include all of those goals onto one chart. That's just like this, right? So in this case, I have a goal, and if I hover over this, you can see I've got a goal of 1.519 million, and I have received 1.752 million, and that puts me at 115% to my corporate goal. If I do the same for employee, I've only raised 7 million out of 8.7 million, right? So I'm at 83%. Again, this is an Executive Plus. I just picked easy numbers, corporate, employee, individual, other, and special campaigns. However you decide that you can write Executive Plus queries or SQL query to get that data, you can now put it into this circular gauge chart. So KPIs, any of that data that's in Andar, number of touches, number of calls scheduled, number of emails sent, any of that kind of stuff that you want to set goals and can measure the results on, you can then include in this circular gauge chart. Hovering over each one of these will show you the percentage as well as the status. We did limit it up to 5 goals. So once you get into 6, the segments get to look a little too skinny and it doesn't really look all that pleasing. So we did limit it at 5 goals, but you can have up to 5 goals shown in one chart. So again, trying to show you that high level in one spot. So I think we're going to try and find more interesting ways to use that circular gauge as well. But for now, it's an Executive Plus query. One other thing that I'll show you on the Executive Plus query piece. In our support center, so I just went out to, we've got a couple of download libraries. So we've had these for a long time. So we've got one for style sheets. We've got one for all kinds of, what else do we have? Dashboards and BioTabs. This one's for Executive Plus. So we've had, if you've ever looked at these are Executive Plus queries that you can actually grab the coding for and import directly into your database. Just kind of as examples. This one I used a lot, who's logged into the system. I wanted to see if people at my organization were using Andar. So last logins just shows all of the people that have been logged into your Andar instance. I downloaded this and imported it without having to know a single bit of SQL queries, SQL coding skills. So this library has existed for quite some time, but what we didn't have were all of these chart examples. So I went out and got some example charts. So this is that circle gauge that I gave you an example for. There's a thermometer and a bar chart and a sunburst and the word cloud. So all of these examples are out there. Some of them may not work great because, maybe the best example I can give you is this word cloud. Word clouds work off of an article. You might not have article number 62 in your database or whatever I coded it for. So, but the idea is if you understand SQL or at least a little bit of SQL, you might be able to modify the chart rather than starting from scratch. And that's kind of the other theme that we're going with these dashboards and BioTabs as well. Let's give you a paint by numbers, and then you can go and customize some of this stuff. And rather than starting with a blank canvas. Same thing here. These are just examples. You can customize it to pick and choose campaign accounts or this grouping of organizations and not that group. You can customize the query, but having a starting point is an important step. So wanted to give some examples of all of these new charts that can be done with our Executive Plus module. Okay, I think that's about it. I'm going to check here. Let's get this in front of me. Okay, so we got a bunch of questions. And I know we're kind of at time, but while the Q&A loads, if anybody wants to stick around, I will try and answer some of these questions as they came through. And eventually I'll cut it off, but I'll try and go back and answer questions and publish this later too. So yes, it is being recorded. The 2 bot items, yes, those 2 you do have to enable. The third one is in there by default. So you can enable those 2 bot items in the system preferences that I showed you. Sheila, great question on the iAccess BioTab stuff. I have not tested them out in iAccess yet. There have been a bunch of things in iAccess that the really pretty view that you get in Andar doesn't necessarily translate out to iAccess. Most of the times it's a style sheet issue. So we might be able to provide some style sheets that help make those standard BioTabs and dashboards look a little bit better in iAccess. So it is on the radar, but I can't guarantee they're going to look all that pretty, so I have not tested them. So good question, and one of those times where I'm not afraid to say, I don't know. One step at a time. Julia, you asked about the churn charts and other charts. When you click on the data, who those people are? Who are those people? That's one of the challenges, and that's why I said some of these charts are clickable and others are not. So like this leadership count is not clickable, but this volunteer giving is. So what we have to do is we just have to figure out what do we want to display when you click on a chart. So in this instance, I'm not going to care about volunteer information on the leadership count, right? We want to see campaign information on that. So it's a different like follow-up item. So we have to create those lists a little bit separately. So some of that doesn't we haven't created some of that, but that's because the lists between these two are different. So each chart gets its own kind of drill down information. So I'm not sure if that answered your question or not. But that's why some of them are clickable and some of them are not, is because we need to go that one step further and define what happens. What do we display when we click? It's not going to be the same list for every single app. So in this case, the volunteer giving history, this is very specifically defined by who are my leaders who have given or who are my volunteers who have given a leadership gift. Whereas clicking on this other segment, who are my volunteers who have not given a gift? So each chart has its own little kind of qualifications of what gets displayed there. So it's a good question. Each chart is going to be different. That's why some of them don't have the detail behind that click. Hopefully that answered your question. That was a kind of a roundabout way to answer it, but hopefully that answered question. Okay, I think that was it. Make sure nothing has come in. Okay, looks like that was the majority of the questions. If you do have any future questions, feel free to shoot us messages, put in support tickets. Our customer care team is here. It's getting to be campaign season, so I'm going to give a plug for them because they are getting overwhelmed with early campaign stuff already. So apologies in advance for the customer care team. They're doing the best they can for a couple hundred United Ways and campaign season coming up. So, but if you've got questions, put in some support tickets asking for help. If you want training on any of this, our professional services team is there to give training on it. And then last plug, keep a lookout for more webinars. We're going to be doing more of these on more topics. Some of them are going to go into a little bit more depth. Some of them might get into a little bit more of the details of how to configure things. And then we're always going to be doing these service pack release webinars as well. So keep an eye out for any of the communications for any of this kind of stuff. So hopefully found some of this useful. We're pretty excited about some of the new apps that we've created and some of the new features that are coming in the 2601 service pack. So even more exciting stuff coming then. So can't say much more than that, but I'm excited. I think the whole team is excited. So hopefully everybody finds these useful. And if you have feedback, feel free to shoot me an email. You can contact me by email is the best way. So thank you guys for the hour of your time today. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks all.